The sun dipped behind the hills of Greystone Valley, casting long shadows through the dense forest. The town was quiet, but the forest never was. Birds chirped, leaves rustled, and somewhere in the distance, a lone wolf howled, a sound that stirred old legends and made even the bravest pause. Emma Callan stood at the edge of the woods, one boot on a mossy log, scanning the treetops with her sharp eyes. She wasn't just anyone. She was the daughter of Ranger William Callan, the man who'd kept these woods safe for decades. Most people respected the Collins. Most. But not the new kids in town. Logan, Zane, and Tyler, city boys with loud mouths and louder trucks, had come to Greystone to make their own fun. They laughed at the small town quiet, mocked the old traditions, and especially enjoyed teasing Emma whenever they crossed paths. Little Ranger Girl, they'd call her, pretending to salute. Still playing forest hero, Emma didn't rise to their bait. Her father taught her that the forest hears everything, and the people who mock it never leave unchanged. That evening, as the boys revved their ATV engines near the tree line, Emma stood calmly, watching. "You shouldn't go in there," she said flatly. "You don't know what you're waking up." They laughed, louder than before. "Is that a threat? Are the squirrels gonna get us?" Zane sneered. Emma didn't answer. She just turned and walked back toward the ranger station. The boys disappeared into the woods, their laughter echoing like crows. But deep within the forest, something stirred. Not a beast, not quite a man either. The forest knew Emma, and it remembered loyalty. They mocked the ranger's daughter. But they didn't know, he was watching. Waiting. The moon had risen high when the boys stopped their ATVs near an old logging trail, far from the main paths. Logan tossed his helmet aside and smirked. "So this is the big scary forest, huh? Looks like a bunch of trees to me." Zane lit a cigarette and leaned on a stump. "Did you see her face?" Emma was actually serious. "Like we were going to get cursed or something." Tyler chuckled but looked around nervously. "I mean, it's just a forest. Right?" But the trees didn't seem so harmless anymore. The wind moved through them not like a breeze, but like breath, low, steady, alive. The boys didn't notice, but the animals had fallen silent. No crickets, no owls. Just the hum of engines and the snap of twigs beneath careless boots. They wandered deeper, ignoring trail markers, until they found a strange stone circle covered in moss and vines. Tyler bent down. "What is this? Some kind of campsite?" "No," Logan said, suddenly serious. "That's old, real old." They joked to shake off the unease, mocking rituals, pretending to chant. Zane kicked over a stone. "Oops, hope I didn't wake the forest gods." They all laughed. Loud, nervous laughter. Back at the edge of the woods, Emma stood with her hand on a radio, unsure whether to call her father or wait. Something told her it was too late. Deeper in the trees, far past the boys, something opened amber eyes. It stood on 4 legs, then rose to 2. Broad shoulders. Gray fur, scars. He had once known kindness. He had once known Emma. Now he only knew the forest, and that it was being disrespected. They had crossed a line. And he had awakened. In a clearing drenched in silver moonlight, the air shifted. Trees stood still as if holding their breath. From the shadows, he stepped forward, slowly, silently. Taller than any man, built like a beast, with fur the color of ash and eyes burning gold. He was not a legend. He was real. 10 years ago, he was just a wolf pup, rescued by a grieving ranger and his young daughter after a wildfire took his pack. Emma had named him Ash, for the night they found him in the soot-covered ruins. She had raised him like a brother, trained him like a dog, but even then, there was something different about him. Smarter, wilder, unbreakable. He had grown fast, and when the time came, he left, vanishing into the forest without a sound. Emma cried, but her father had said, "He'll return if he ever needs to or if we do." Tonight, the forest had called him. The scent of oil, gasoline, and smoke led him forward. Loud voices, clumsy boots, and laughter that didn't belong. He heard them. smelled them, felt their carelessness. Ash crouched low, blending into the trees, watching. Logan tossed a beer can against a trunk and laughed. You believe these stories? Ghost wolves and forest spirits. This place is dead. No, Tyler murmured. It feels, watched. The leaves rustled behind them. Probably just a raccoon, Zane said, turning. But it wasn't. Ash stepped into the firelight, massive and silent. The boys froze. What the hell is that? Tyler whispered. Amber eyes locked on them. Not wild, not tame, judging. Logan reached for something. Maybe a flashlight, maybe worse. Ash growled. Not loud, just enough. Enough to say, you are not welcome. None of the boys moved. Ash stood there, massive, unmoving, a living shadow edged in moonlight. His growl lingered in the air like a warning carved into stone. Logan's hand trembled over his flashlight. Back up, he whispered. Zane scoffed, but even his usual arrogance cracked. It's just a wolf. Big, sure, but still just an animal. But deep inside, he knew it wasn't just anything. Ash didn't lunge. He didn't attack. He just watched. Calculating, remembering, testing. Suddenly, he took one slow step forward. The boys panicked. Tyler stumbled backward into the stone circle they'd mocked earlier. Logan dropped his flashlight. Fumbling with his bag, Zane grabbed a branch, holding it like a weapon. That was the wrong move. Ash's ears twitched. His lips curled back, just enough to show teeth. Not a threat, a promise. From the shadows, another figure appeared. Emma. She had followed them. Silently, swiftly. She stood now at the edge of the clearing, her voice steady. Put it down, Zane. Zane turned. What the hell is that thing? She stepped forward. His name is Ash, and he remembers you. Tyler stared at her. That's yours. No, she said calmly. He belongs to the forest now. Ash lowered his head slightly at her voice, acknowledging her, recognizing her, but his gaze never left the boys. Emma continued, you trespassed. Mocked the land, damaged sacred ground. He doesn't forgive that easily. Logan scoffed, trying to recover his bravado. What is this? Some ranger voodoo? Emma didn't respond. She just looked at Ash. He blinked once. Then, in a blur, he vanished into the trees. But the message had been delivered. They were still alive, but only because he allowed it, and the forest was watching. The next morning, the boys limped back into Greystone, mud-covered, scratched, and eerily silent. The townsfolk noticed. No loud jokes, no roaring engines, no swagger, just pale faces and haunted eyes. At the ranger station, Emma sat with her father, Ranger William Callan, reviewing wildlife camera footage. She said nothing about the night before, yet. Anything strange? He asked. Emma paused. Just the usual, but she knew something had changed. Ash had returned. That evening, word spread fast. Logan, Zane, and Tyler refused to go near the forest. Zane was spotted dumping all his camping gear. Tyler called his parents and begged to leave town early. Logan, once loudest of all, sat quietly at the diner, staring at his untouched food. The locals noticed. Greystone had seen this before. Long ago, kids would dare each other to enter Ash Hollow, a deep grove surrounded by dense fog. Those who mocked it always returned changed. If they returned at all, the legend of the Guardian was whispered, then forgotten. Until now at school, Emma walked past the boys in silence. No insults followed her, no mocking laughter. They didn't just fear Ash. They feared what he represented. The forest had chosen a side. Later that day, Emma found deep prints outside her cabin. Too large for a normal wolf. Not threatening. Just a sign. He'd been there, watching. She smiled faintly, placing her hand over the print. You're still protecting us. Inside, her father noticed the change too. You've seen him, he said. Emma nodded. He saved me and warned them. Will leaned back, eyes heavy with memory. Then the balance is shifting. And he was right, because Ash hadn't just returned. He had claimed the forest again, and those who mocked it were now marked. The forest had quieted, but it wasn't at peace. A week passed. The boys stayed away, but not everyone in Greystone learned their lesson. Whispers of the ghost wolf spread, some believed, others laughed. And not all feared the legend. A man arrived in town. Heavy boots, a scar down his cheek. Name: Mason Creed, a self-proclaimed tracker and hunter, hired by an unknown source. He claimed he could solve the town's little wolf problem. He scoffed at the locals' stories. No beast controls me, it bleeds, it dies. Emma heard about him from the general store. Her stomach turned. That night, she and her father reviewed maps. If someone's after Ash, they'll try the eastern ridge, she said. That's where the sacred trail runs. He always circles back there. Her father nodded. We need to get there first. But Mason moved quickly. By morning, he'd already set traps, steel jaws, baited meat, and scent markers. The kind designed to kill, not capture. Ash knew. From deep within the trees, he watched. He could smell the iron, the taint of blood. He circled silently, avoiding the traps with uncanny intelligence. But Mason wasn't hunting blindly. He knew something others didn't. Ash wasn't an ordinary wolf. He followed prints, disturbed soil, claw marks on bark, until he found a spot where the scent was strongest. Got you, Mason whispered. He set a motion-triggered snare, hidden beneath leaves. And above it, a piece of cloth, Emma's old forest jacket, stolen from her line. Emma arrived at the eastern ridge too late. She saw the traps, the bait, the markings. And one terrible detail: her jacket. This isn't just a hunt, she whispered. He's using me. Somewhere close, Ash growled low. The game had changed. Now it was personal. Mason Creed crouched in silence, hidden among the pines, rifle across his lap. The forest was quiet, too quiet. He'd spent his life tracking predators, but this was different. This wolf didn't leave a trail. It moved like smoke. Still, he believed the bait would work. He'd taken Emma's jacket not just for scent, it was psychological. He wanted to rattle the creature. Provoke it. What he didn't realize was that Ash couldn't be provoked. He could only be awakened. Hours passed. No movement. Then, a whisper. Not wind. A shift of weight. A pressure in the air. Mason raised his rifle, slowly. His pulse quickened. His eyes scanned the trees. There, just at the edge of the clearing, two glowing amber eyes. Staring straight at him, he fired. But the wolf was gone before the sound echoed. Emma heard the gunshot from a ridge above. She'd been tracking Mason, and now she ran, heart pounding. She knew Ash wouldn't fall for something so crude. But if Mason hurt him, if he even tried, there would be no turning back. In the clearing, Mason circled, muttering, "Where are you, freak?" Behind him, Ash stepped from the trees, silent as death. His fur bristled, his eyes fixed. He didn't lunge. Not yet. He waited. Emma burst into the clearing just in time. "Ash, no." The wolf hesitated, but didn't retreat. Mason turned, startled. "You're protecting it." "No," Emma said breathlessly. "He's protecting you. From yourself." But Mason wasn't listening. He raised his gun again. Ash's body tensed, and in that split second, the forest decided. A branch cracked behind Mason. A second figure stepped out of the trees. It wasn't Ash. It was another. Eyes wild, fur dark, bigger. Ash hadn't come alone. The second wolf towered behind Mason, its fur darker, rougher, with a scar slicing across one blind eye. It didn't growl. It didn't need to. Mason spun, gun swinging wildly. Emma screamed, "Don't," but it was too late. Ash moved first. With impossible speed, he lunged, not to kill, but to disarm. His shoulder slammed into Mason's side, sending the rifle flying and the hunter sprawling into the dirt. The second wolf circled, lips curled in quiet menace, blocking his retreat. Mason gasped for breath, staring up at the two beasts now flanking him like judges from another world. He scrambled backwards until his back hit a tree. Emma stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "You trespassed. You baited. You tried to kill what you don't understand." Mason spat blood. "It's just an animal." Ash stepped closer. Emma knelt beside the hunter, eyes locked on his. "No, he's more. He's the balance. The guardian. The one who watches when no one else does. And you broke the rules." Behind her, the second wolf growled low and guttural. The forest around them whispered in a language older than memory. Emma reached into her pocket, pulling out a whistle made of bone, her father's, passed down from ranger to ranger. She blew it once, a long, shrill note. The wolves paused. A moment passed. Then both slowly retreated into the trees. Not in fear, but in mercy. Mason didn't move. "Couldn't speak. You're lucky," Emma said. "They let you live. But speak of them again, and the forest won't be so kind." He nodded silently. The pact was made. As the wolves vanished into the mist, Emma turned back toward the trail. For now, peace had returned. But the forest remembered everything. And Ash was never far. In the days that followed, Greystone changed. Word of Mason's encounter spread, not from him, but from the way he left. Shaken, silent, avoiding all questions. He packed his things and disappeared before sunrise, leaving behind his traps, gear, and pride. Locals whispered of what he'd seen, but no one said it aloud. Because some truths belong to the forest. Emma stood at the ranger lookout tower with her father, both staring over the canopy of green. The trees swayed gently, peaceful again, for now. Below them, motion-triggered cameras clicked quietly, watching the trails. "Evidence, yes, but also protection. You think he'll stay close this time?" her father asked. Emma smiled faintly. "I don't think he ever left." She turned over a small object in her hand. A stone, smooth and dark, with a faint scratch running down the center. It hadn't been there the day before. It had been left, placed gently at her cabin door. A sign. Ash remembered. Back in town, Logan, Zane, and Tyler tried to return to normal. But something had broken in them that night. They no longer roared through trails or mocked the trees. Tyler even joined a volunteer team to help restore forest paths. Zane avoided eye contact with Emma completely. The lesson had sunk in that evening. Emma walked a trail alone, no flashlight, no rifle. Just memory and instinct. And as dusk settled, she paused beside the stone circle where it all began. A breeze passed, carrying a scent she remembered. Juniper. She looked up there. On the ridge above, stood Ash. Tall, silent, regal, the second wolf beside him, like a shadow. She whispered, "Thank you." Ash gave one nod then vanished once more into the trees. Not a beast. Not a pet. A guardian. And the forest, still watching. Seasons passed. The forest near Greystone grew wilder, fuller, stronger. Trails once scarred by dirt bikes and boot tracks began to heal. New life bloomed. Ferns curled into the light, deer returned to drink from clear streams, and birds sang without fear. The poachers didn't return. They'd heard the stories. Some laughed, then fell silent when they looked into the trees and felt that ancient pressure in the air. The feeling that they weren't alone. Because they weren't. Ash was always near. Emma became more than the ranger's daughter. She took her father's place as the forest's voice, youngest head ranger in county history. But she knew it wasn't her alone who kept the balance. It was the pact, unspoken, sacred, between her and something older than man. Sometimes, she found signs. A torn branch near her window, a paw print where none should be, the faint scent of juniper on the wind. Messages, warnings, promises. At night, she'd write in the old ranger ledger, keeping the real history alive. Greater than, they mocked what they didn't understand. But he came back, not as a pet or monster, but as a guardian. The wolf who knew was the one who remembered. The one who chose to defend. She paused, pen hovering. Then added, greater than, Ash is not just a creature of the forest. He is the forest, and those who forget that, don't forget for long. At the edge of town, the children tell stories now, about the shadow with glowing eyes, the beast who protects lost hikers, the howl that only the guilty hear. Some call him legend, some call him ghost, but Emma, she calls him family, because deep in the trees, where light bends and silence listens, Ash still watches. And the forest never forgets.